So I saw this trade go down in between the time in which I was recording the Brian Dumoulin video and the Riley Smith video. And in between that, I was like, you know what, this trade, it's not that big of a deal compared to the other two, so we skipped out on talking about it. The Florida Panthers got a guy, and I was like, okay, let's just talk about Riley Smith, we'll talk about the Red Wings, we'll talk about the waiver stuff, we'll talk about some other topics that are going to be discussed later in today's show, but we now have a reason to talk about this San Jose Sharks and Florida Panthers trade, because not only did the Florida Panthers go out there and make this trade with San Jose, but they also made another trade. Take a look at this. The Florida Panthers have made two trades with the San Jose Sharks and the Winnipeg Jets. Let's dive into both of these here, because obviously with a lot of trade activity comes a lot of chatter as to what's going on. Take a look at this. Firstly, the San Jose Sharks have sent forward Nico Sturm and a 2027 7th-round pick over to Florida in exchange for a 2026 4th-round pick. So the Sharks slightly upgrade a 2027 7th to a 2026 4th, and the price to do that is forward Nico Sturm. This is a really interesting acquisition for the Florida Panthers if we head over to Sturm and his Elite Prospects page. But before we do that, this show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out that first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel all in the process. So, Nico Sturm, new Florida Panthers guy. The page is also updated here, so yeah, he is on Florida. Big dude, 6'3", 209, left-handed center left wing, 29 years old, a free agent who was actually signed on by, I believe it was Minnesota after his time in, was it Clarkson? I want to say Clarkson. $2 million is the AAV right now until the end of this season, so he is on an expiring contract. That makes it a good rental for the Florida Panthers. They don't have to commit too much money nor term to Sturm. But yes, there you go. Clarkson University, he was the captain in 2018-19, and then he had signed with Minnesota. There was a period of Sturm's career where some of us were thinking, oh, this guy could be a really interesting depth option longer term. He was kind of a middle-aged dude when he was signed by Minnesota in the first place, but he eventually was maxing out with the team at 17 points in 50 games played. He then got traded, I believe it was, for Tyson Jost, and the reason I know that is because we did make a video about that trade back when it happened in 2022. He had 3 points in 21 games with the Colorado Avalanche after getting sent over there, and then found himself in San Jose. 26 points in 74 games, so that was a career high for the German center. Last season with San Jose, he had 13 points in 63 games. This season, he had 13 points in 47 games, so significantly cutting down the games played amount to get the same amount of points, although this season he has missed some time. He's on pace for 18 points in 66 games played total. Now he'll be in Florida, where he probably won't be scoring a whole bunch of points. I would be very surprised if Nico Sturm went out there and started producing the lights out with the Florida Panthers of all teams, especially when you consider his role. I mean, Elite Prospects puts him here as a face-off specialist, so a big-bodied face-off winning, puck-battling guy in the bottom six of a Florida Panthers team. This is a really good acquisition for a squad that definitely is bolstering up their roster heading into the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs. We've been talking all this talk about Tampa Bay getting their guys, Bjorkstrand, Yanni Gourde, how the Florida Panthers got Vitek Vanacek after trading for Seth Jones, and now they have Nico Sturm. But guess what, man? That isn't even it. There are more trades to talk about with the Florida Panthers. If you didn't think Florida has been busy enough, it sounds like they have been making, or talking about at least, a goalie swap. Chris Driedger for Kaapo Kahkonen. Now, quick aside. Just pause it up right here. The Florida Panthers have just acquired yet another goaltender, and guess who is kind of quivering in their feet right here? Because guess who decided to add Vitek Vanacek onto his fantasy team and used up the last ad of the week he has got, because he was like, hey, Vitek Vanacek is now going to be a Florida Panther. He's probably going to get some better numbers, right? And now there's another guy who is swapping around in Florida. Oh boy. I wonder who's going to be the backup. Sergei Bobrovsky is obviously the one, right? But number 2, is it Vitek Vanacek? Or is it Kaapo Kahkonen? I don't know. Let's go out there and talk about each of these guys and bring up their profiles. So Chris Driedger heading over to the Winnipeg Jets. As Saravelli spoke about, Driedger is from Winnipeg, so this is a nice little homecoming for the 30-year-old goaltender. 6'4", 207, left-handed guy. His contract is expiring at the end of this season as well. Chris Driedger this season did not play a single game with the Florida Panthers. However, in the AHL, he had an .878 save percentage and a .297 goals against in 20 games with the Charlotte Checkers. That is definitely not great. There was a time where Driedger was a very, very good NHL goalie. In particular, his 2020-2021 season with the Florida Panthers, where he had a .927 save percentage and a .207 goals against average. That is crazy. He was really, really good in that small stint. And eventually, when Seattle got him the season after, I think there was sort of an expectation that Driedger would be this amazing guy and he'd have this explosion of talent and take over the number 1 spot. No, he didn't. Unfortunately. He had spent a few seasons in the Seattle Kraken organization up and down in the AHL and NHL before finding himself back into the Florida Panthers system this year, where he played 0 games, as we had talked about. Now, he's heading over to Winnipeg, where it's going to be really difficult for him to get starts there too, when you consider Eric Comrie and Connor Hellebuyck. Hellebuyck, of course, is the best goalie on the planet, and Comrie is probably the best backup on the planet too. Maybe that, or his numbers are just getting inflated because he's playing on Winnipeg, who are so good defensively. But Chris Driedger heading over to his hometown team in Winnipeg, obviously that's a good story. I'm not going to say that he's going to tear the house down and be a super important guy, nor do I think is Kaapo Kahkonen going to do the same thing. If we head over to him and his profile, this is the newest Florida Panthers goalie. Okay, maybe there isn't really a chance that he does become the backup and Vitek Vanacek gets more games, right? Right? Crossing my fingers, knock on wood, hopefully Vitek Vanacek does get more games for the sake of my own fantasy team. Is he going to be reunited with Kaapo Kahkonen? Is that the case here? Were they on the same team in San Jose at the same time? Kind of looks like it, right? No, never mind. Vitek Vanacek was only playing for San Jose this season. He didn't play a game last season, so maybe there isn't really that much of a connection there, but Kaapo Kahkonen is indeed heading over to the Florida Panthers. 28-year-old goaltender, 6'2", 216. His contract is also expiring at the end of this season. He's making $1 million, so the Florida Panthers are taking on a little bit of extra cap space to send Driedger over to his hometown Winnipeg team, which I guess is a good gesture, right? The Florida Panthers have been wheeling and dealing. Why not make another move? Kaapo Kahkonen this season had 1 game played with the Colorado Avalanche at the NHL level, where he had an .800 save percentage. That's not great. However, with the Colorado Eagles, that's where he played his best hockey this season. .919 save percentage in 2 games played. He also had an .885 save percentage in 22 Manitoba Moose games. So there is indeed a link there. Now that I'm seeing it, Kaapo Kahkonen was traded over to New Jersey. He had a .923 save percentage. Was he traded for gosh darn Vitek Vanacek? Is that the situation here? Let's dive into it. Okay. San Jose to New Jersey. Is this the right thing here? Yeah, it was. That's how. Okay. I was getting a little bit confused. My mental math was not mathing up, and I was like, wait a minute. Vitek Vanacek and Kaapo Kahkonen, why are these 2 names linked in my mind? Yeah, it's because they were traded for each other a year ago in March of 2024. So now these guys are teammates. Interestingly enough, who knows if Kaapo Kahkonen is actually going to have a significant amount of time with the Florida Panthers and not just their AHL team, but hey, I guess he's going to be meeting the guy that he was traded for a year ago, right? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these 2 trades made by the Florida Panthers. It was Chris Driedger for Kaapo Kahkonen, Winnipeg and Florida making a deal, and also you had that Nico Sturm trade wherein the Panthers got themselves a guy that can help out in their bottom 6 from San Jose. So, thoughts in the comment section below about these 2 Panthers trades, the Jets, the Sharks. What are your thoughts on these acquisitions here? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.